Hey y'all. So this is a question I've seen brought up from time to time. Maybe not as blatant inside the church walls yet, but it's there. And I'm sure you've seen a apparition of it too. Are you following Paul's doctrine? Or are you following Jesus' doctrine? And I know why it's phrased this way. we can um we can go into the manipulation of scripture by the devil. That much is obvious. But why it's phrased the way is with Jesus ambiguity there. Even though I'll go on, even though I go into a later at how the one the same, and Paul doesn't write down anything without it specific coming from Jesus, specifically being under his authority. But with Jesus, there's a little bit of ambiguity there. Yeah, there's a little bit of ambiguity we can say, oh, Jesus did your job. Jesus yubs everyone. Jesus wants everyone to be, Jesus wants everyone to have the same level of authority in the church, the same level of opportunities. I mean, no one has a role. No one has anything to think of to consider anything else to the contrary is bigoted and it's very harmful and very hurtful. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there where they can just say, oh, Jesus just did love under the veil of Jesus coming and sacrificing himself on the cross for you and for me under that veil of manipulation. But with Paul, there's the little it is a little more straightforward. It is on the surface level. I mean, Paul the one who condemns. Paul the one who says women and men have a specific role, even though even though Jesus does go into it, maybe not as blatantly, but does go into it from time to time. But for you to avoid the trapping to that, turn with me to 1 Corinthians 11. Actually, it's the third verse. I didn't notice this, but this actually is the third verse of 1 Corinthians 11. So, verse 1. This is Paul talking. Paul writes to the church of Corinth. He says, imitate me, just as I also imitate Christ. Wow, so he imitates Christ. What that means basically is, yeah, I can say he pins nothing apart from Christ. I mean, none of what he pins, I mean, I don't really say none of what he pins on own thoughts, but none of what he pins come without having a conversation with Jesus and having that God centered mindset. But like I say, I understand where the ambiguity and the manipulation may serve may serve some people better. And I can say it's not maybe it's blatant inside the church yet, but it is noticeable in the fact that they say, "Oh, Jesus is yub, Jesus just yubbed everyone." I mean, Paul would just antiquated. So who are you following? You're following Paul or you're following Jesus, who is the well, Paul is actually one of Jesus' greatest disciples. apostles. He wasn't in the original 12, obviously, but he penned 27 of the New Testament books in the Gospel. So I say Paul's one of actually Jesus' greatest disciples. Now he imitates Christ. So that's to say to us, again, that's to say to us that Paul does nothing apart from Christ. Like I say, this, after each first thing he says to the church of Corinth when he pins it together,